school counselors in a bricks and mortar setting does, with some guidance to help you get started. So I won't belabor that, but I also do want to remind you on the next slide, ASCA has, in lieu of COVID, put out a number of additional resources all about virtual school counseling. So if you've been on their website and you've clicked on the COVID-19 banner, and Candace, if you could go forward one, there's a snip here to show you all what those toolkits look like. They're all linked resources. And I would highly recommend whichever grade band you're working with, you kind of start here by checking out the grade band toolkit associated with where you work, and you'll find lessons, discussion questions, resources, literature, like book titles and things, organized by domain, academic, career, and personal social, to kind of get you started. We're going to give you a lot of resources today, but we didn't want to recreate the wheel or overwhelm you or bombard you with additional links. So this is kind of a good starting point, and then hopefully you'll take some additional things away from today's session. Now, I do want to share with you, and if we go forward one more slide, we do our best to implement a comprehensive school counseling program following the ASCA National Model in our online schools. I'm sure you all, do your best to do that in your environment too. And where we have to be the most creative is in the delivery of services, which you see outlined here. You're likely familiar with this from ASCA. But we have to be creative because for us, in-person or face-to-face interactions are very rare. So everything you do in your building on a day-to-day basis, what I encourage you to do is find a way to translate that into the online environment. We're going to give you lots of ideas today. But at first, that may sound really impossible, but trust me, it does get easier once you start trying new things and implementing in new ways. So even you might be thinking, well, I do a lunch bunch in the cafeteria with my small group, and you could do that virtually in a setting similar to what we're in today, or using whatever platform you use within your school or your district. You may, be set on bulletin boards or decorating your office door in certain ways or themes for college or career planning. Find a way to bring that online and get it out to your school community. Morning announcements, you could make videos, you could flip classroom lessons, so many things. You can bring career fairs online, you can find ways to get referrals to you. Anything you do, just think of yourself as in this interim role as a translator, and you're just translating what you do on a day-to-day basis in your school building to an online environment. So the thing I'm going to leave you with before I introduce you to our amazing school counselors are 5 keys to success for school counselors in a virtual environment. Things I wish someone had told me when I first started, and things I hear from our counselors all the time. So the first thing is visibility. This can be like the biggest challenge. Oh, Zanita, no, I don't think you have to be a member. It's on the homepage. If you click the banner, a lot of the resources are free there. So check out schoolcounselor.org is ASCA's website. Sorry, just saw that in the chat. So back to visibility. This can be the biggest challenge in an online environment. You have the benefit of already building those relationships and your students knowing you and knowing your face and knowing your voice. But there may be students that need your support during this time that have never sought out your help before. And so you're going to have to do a lot of extra outreach just to all your families to remind them who you are, what you do for them, and how they can get in touch with you. So establish that visibility for yourself. You might consider having open office hours, like a consistent time during the day or during the week where families can drop in and see you or know that you'll be right by your phone if they want to give you a call. Walking the halls, you might be accustomed to that in your building just to get out there and see your students. I challenge you to find a way to do this in the virtual setting. If your teachers are holding classes, well, get that login and pop into their online classes and say hi to your students and find a way to walk the halls in that way. And just stay approachable and available. Secondly, referrals. You're going to need to find a mechanism or a way for those referrals to get to you, both self-referrals from your students and families and also from your faculty and staff. So this could be, if you use Google Suite, a Google form that you set up and link right in your signature. It could be an email that your teachers reach out to you in a certain way. Whatever works for you, figure that out and get that information out to your team and your school community. You also may need to make extra referrals to community organizations for families that are really in need financially or with some of those basic needs. So get with your school social worker, find out what those community organizations are, make yourself a cheat sheet so you're ready to get families to what they need. Okay, third, in the middle there, documentation. I encourage you to replicate what you're currently doing, but also ramp up your current practices. In the online setting, we found because it can feel like you're working in isolation so much and things are coming and going all the time and you're distracted by being at home or with other family members that are at home, documentation is really key. We live by the mantra, if it's not documented, then it didn't happen. So just document, everything and find a method that works for you and with your school. Number 4 is technology. These are really useful tools for you. You're gonna get more comfortable with it just by nature of using them if it's something that kind of makes you cringe. But it's really your mode of communication and you can have multiple modes of communication. So find what works for your students and your families, times of day, whether they like email or a phone call, make little notes of that in your documentation so you can reach families when you need to. And then of course, prepare for glitches. We haven't had any yet this morning, knock on wood, but they always happen. So, don't panic and just remember it happens. Finally, consultation. Find a buddy. I put down on here, phone a friend. That's kind of how I think of it. You're going to have more consultation than usual, and you're going to need somebody either on your school counseling team or on your school team or a counselor at another school maybe that you meet today that you can work with and collaborate with and have someone, test out a link that you're making for the first time or practice in your platform. Find someone that you can consult with regularly just to be there for you because it's going to go a long way. You're also going to encounter situations and scenarios that you've never encountered before, so you're going to want to have that professional consultation, ready. So find that person or people that you can count on. And then my final bonus here is establish boundaries, both your physical space since you're working from home, but also your time. It's easy to have schedules mesh into home or personal life. So achieve a balance the best you can. It's really hard right now, but do what you can to achieve that balance. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next 2 presenters, which I'm so pleased you're going to get to hear from them today. I'm just going to share who they are, and then they'll share more with you about where they come from and what they're all about and jump into our content for today. So Brenda Elliott is our elementary school counselor at the Alabama Virtual Academy, and Brianna Hunter is our school counselor at the Alabama Destinations Career Academy. And I'm so pleased they're here with us, so please give them a warm welcome along with me, and I'll turn it over to you, Brenda.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted, in a nutshell, I've taught all over the state in elementary, 2nd, 3rd, mainly 5th grade, whether it was Chilton County, Bessemer City Schools, Covington County. The past 16 years I've been with Jefferson County before. This is my 4th year with Alabama Virtual Academy. And so my big question was, everything that I was going into the classroom and doing, how in the world am I supposed to translate that into the virtual? Probably my biggest hurdle was everything is computer oriented. We use, Blackboard, we use Zoom, different platforms. But when I started, I had a lot of good advice. I started with the leader in me, and a lot of you are familiar with that, format, teaching the kids, to be the best leader. And that is the 7 Habits of Happy Kids. What I did, I downloaded the books. I show that to the kids, and it's a lunch bunch. Some of you are used to having lunch with your kids. You do the same thing. I tell them, eat a snack, eat a sandwich, no test, just enjoy. And then I also have a PowerPoint. Candace, if you'll show that PowerPoint on Lunch Bunch, I just took like one example what I do use, and I do this for each one of the lessons. I do that the first semester. It's Lunch Bunch. I do K1 on Monday, 2 through 3 on Tuesday, and 4 through 5 on Wednesday. And so this particular one, this semester, I am using Stephen Cosgrove's Serendipity books. Very short book, moral to the end of the story. I used to read these when I was a classroom teacher. Even fifth graders enjoy these. I attach it to the 7 habits that we learned. Remember how the character is being proactive. Then I ask them some questions, and they can raise their hand and answer if they want to. They can type in the chat box their answer. They can private message me the answer if they don't want it on there. And so we do a lot of interaction like this. And so I even had a little science lesson on that, on butterfly or moth. And I do this, each week. I do Lunch Bunch for the different grades. And there I'm inviting them to my internet safety class. I was doing that weekly, and then it went to every other week. And I divide them up also. Candace, if you'll show the internet safety. Candace is our go-to person for computer technology. She is just wonderful on doing this. Either one, Candace, the internet safety for kids down there. And again, I divide them up. The questions are different. This is 3 through 5. I have some questions I show them at the beginning. And then I go through, on this one is what is digital citizenship, being a good citizen. Even our kids that have been online for a long time, sometimes they want to, talk about Minecraft, or they want to talk about some of the video games. But just remembering whatever you even type in the chat box is there permanently. And so this one I was, talking about copyright, different things. Commonsense.org has a lot of good things. Of course, I go to YouTube, find different videos pertaining to the kids, and then make sure you paste that into safe YouTube, and it cuts out all that. Something else I do is, okay, these are for small groups. I have 3 small groups. One is called Banana Splits. That's what she's clicking on. Is something I send out, especially if I'm doing a group. I know this year I have a group of 4 girls, and their parents went through a divorce, and just sharing, knowing there's other kids out there. And so this is a letter I send, and then they virtually send it back to me. And that's mainly because there are more than one. If I'm meeting just with one child, I will make that phone call and get permission from the parent over the phone. Okay, so that I have Banana Splits, I have Cool Cats, which is anger management, Lost and Found. That is the death. If there's, I've had a number of kids that have experienced, of course, as you have too, death of a loved one. And so these are, and I have an example that you can go to just to see, and you can change that. Let me see. I think that's all. Candace, you could show a if you wanted to show the other. I don't want to take up too much time. If you'll go to the elementary, I just put like an example of what I do. Now, Candace picked the Good Afternoon Marshall, if you want to. That is my one-on-ones. The last one, Candace, Good Afternoon Marshall. And that's just going over, we made New Year's resolutions together. His was anger. I keep all of their pictures. That was his picture of anger. So I keep that, remind him of some, things to do. It's all PowerPoint. And so, and then I have like extra that I keep on. Tell me about your family. What do you want to do when you grow up? And whatever they tell me, that was what he was afraid of. All his pictures, everything. Um, then if he says he wanted to be a doctor when he grows up, I find a picture of a doctor and just incorporate that week after week, whatever that he's working on. So that's PowerPoint I did with him. Let's see. The slide I don't think that I'm shown, Candace, the banana one is just a quick example of my small group that I do. This was on divorce, and they just introduced themselves, a little bit about themselves, and their family, and they got to know each other. Like there is a friend. One lives in Prattville, the other one lives in Huntsville, and the other lived in Mobile. And so we just brought them all together, and they really enjoyed that, drawing pictures and different things like that. Okay, I think I've covered what I do. If you have any questions, I happen to live in the Jefferson County area. I taught in Jefferson County 12 years in the classroom and then 4 years as counselor. And then I'm ending my 3rd year as the counselor for Alabama Virtual Academy. And we have the links right there, our phone numbers, links, and everything. So thank you. If you have any questions, just reach out to me.
Good morning, everyone. I am Brianna Hunter. I am the counselor for Alabama Destinations Career Academy. As Erica said, we are in our 1st year. So I was in the same boat as y'all. This was very, very new to me. I started in August. And so I was a former CTE counselor, and my background is in mental health. And so I kind of took a turn with becoming a school counselor. And I am an ALC working towards LPC licensure. And you can see that I'm a member of all of those good counseling and career tech organizations. And so, Candace, if you don't mind going to the links slide for me. So I put these up and tried to categorize them for you instead of just throwing them on the page. For mental health, SEL, Therapist Aid is awesome. If you go on there, you can make a free account. And with Therapist Aid, they have interactive activities that you can do. So for example, there's the coping skills bug, and they get to make a bug and name it and play matching cards and talk about coping skills that they can use. There's one for anger management, there's one for ADHD, there's all kinds of things. And it's anywhere from elementary to middle to high school. So there's PBIS World. This one is really good for finding SEL resources, and EverFi. And so those are just a few resources that you can use if you're trying or you need help with finding some mental health resources. Like Brenda said, we are implementing the 7 habits as part of our SEL curriculum for the school, the entire school. Some good virtual resources. Y'all, it sounds silly, but school counseling, War Eagle, school counseling Facebook groups are phenomenal. As a new school counselor and a new virtual school counselor, you can find all sorts of resources from pros out there. And sometimes we just have to get a little creative, has been my biggest motto with moving from brick and mortar to virtual. So for example, they post all kinds of neat topics. So for example, I did the yucky bug with my students as part of the COVID-19 pandemic, just a way for them to understand what is going on. We watched the video on the yucky bug, then we talked about worry and what that means, and then coping skills to help manage that worry. So that was super, super helpful, along with a lot of other resources that I've been able to find. So just joining those school counseling Facebook groups, they're a lifesaver. Screencast-O-Matic. So this is a way that you can create videos. So I know Erica talked about creating videos and sending them out to students. We do this all of the time, whether it be sending them out to our students, our 8th graders on doing grad plans, or even using them for SEL or even career exploration. Bitmoji, so just like your Snapchat, you can do Bitmoji on Google Chrome, and I put these in my PowerPoints, I put them in my emails. Students love them. They absolutely love them. It makes it neat. When you're sending out an email, they have something to look at. They enjoy it. Padlet is a good way to practice surveys. And then these others, yes, that would be awesome, Erica. YimKit is a fun way for students to answer questions while playing a game. And so you could use this for your guidance lessons to help them practice while they're having fun. And the same with Kahoot. I'm sure we're all very familiar with Kahoot. TestMoz. This one is if you wanted to create quizzes for anything. It's a really, really easy way to do that. And then career exploration. We use Nepris all the time, and Nepris is a free resource that you can go to. They have all kinds of videos, millions of different careers. So anything that your students might be interested in, they can go view. Or you can even invite them to your class and have a live speaker. And so we do both. I send out videos, and then I also have live speakers come in and talk to our students. And then Cooter Galaxy, we are fortunate enough as a district to have Cooter Galaxy, and my students love it. We get on, we play, we watch the videos, we explore the planets in galaxy time. And they also have their own login, so they can go in and play in their own free time as well. And so, Candace, if you don't mind going to the resources, Google Drive, and then yes. And so just for an example of how wonderful these school counseling groups are, this is one of the resources I found. And even as a virtual counselor, y'all, this resource is amazing as soon as it pulls up. Those phone glitches we were talking about. So this is an awesome resource, y'all. It breaks down on the tech tools that you can use, so technology, the different sources that you can use, some more comprehensive resources, and then they even broke it down into elementary, middle, and high school, which is really helpful considering I do elementary, middle, and high. So it's nice to have all of those different resources broken down. And so there's professional development, and there's even those good ethical guidelines and mindfulness. And so you can use that for your SEL. My students love it. We just made mindfulness rocks or gratitude rocks. Art and creation, so some fun ways for them to get outside, be creative, have fun in this crazy time. And so, like I said, I got this off a Facebook counseling group, so this was super, super helpful. And that is all from me.
So Brenda, do you mind just talking us through, I mean, you kind of did already, like what does virtual counseling look like? And somebody said, you know, what happens if they don't have a computer? You know, how would you navigate that? Obviously, our students do have computers, but what are some ways that these counselors might be able to work with their students?
Well, like you mentioned in the chat box, Candace, we also call. We make a lot of phone calls. So that would be really the only way, other than maybe sending a postcard, you know, writing that little letter. You know, the kids really appreciate anything in the mail, especially right now. So especially if you have that one-on-one student that needs that little bit of extra, that's what I would do. Also mentioned, someone asked about the young student. I start my lunch bunch with a puppet. So I still have my puppets, and we do a little puppet dance that I got off of YouTube. My older ones like Pharrell Williams' Happy Song. So I do that. Also, Candace, are you going to show the Google Forms that we use? Because teachers make recommendations and parents can also make, not recommendations, but they want help for their child. And so we have Google Forms like this. This one is the parent one. If they're seeing some anger issues or if they had counseling services at school. I do also do one-on-one if it's in their IEP, to have, related services. And that takes a little bit more recording. We have a place that we go to do all those, But here's the Google form. I request that every teacher, if they email me, I have this student and please fill out the form. I print a copy. I'm old school. I want the copy. I keep the notebook to make some notes. Careful about making detailed notes. You can make general ones because if you were ever, had a court to, for a child or something, they can get your records. So you don't want to get too detailed on that, but just enough that you can say, hey, you had a new baby sister born last week. How's she doing? Just something to remind yourself. But these are the Google Forms that Candace is showing. And it helps. And it says, is this an emergency? Some are. We've made DHR reports. I've had teachers, advisors make these reports as well that they do let me know about it if it's an elementary student. So we still do those same things. Candace, did that cover everything that you were saying?
I think so. With informed consent and student privacy and confidentiality, we do let the student know that what they say stays with us, and I mean, it's kind of hard to tell who's on the other side of the phone, if a parent is there, but, we try our best to use webcams when possible so we can see if the students, are alone. But a lot of our parents, will understand, if their student is kind of struggling, that, to give them a little bit of space to work with us, especially if they gave you permission to work with the student ahead of time. Yes, Stephanie, go ahead and take your mic.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I did a lot of elementary, middle, and high school related services last year, and I have a lot of those shared resources in the middle high school, but you can kind of adapt those to elementary. Um, I found that the parents are really good about giving the students their privacy because they know that they're working on, something in particular. Now, like some of the younger ones, the parent would be kind of near. But especially the middle and the high school, the child was usually in their bedroom by themselves, and the parents were really good about giving them their privacy. And then you turn on the webcam, so that you can read facial expressions and body language. And so you always knew that child was, having the privacy that they needed in order to talk to you about, whatever they needed. I found that the parents are really good about that. So that's just my little take on that one.
So, Stephanie, how would you handle this if a parent is sitting right next to a student while they're on speakerphone when the counselor is trying to talk to them? I might would suggest just to explain to the parent, part of your role is to keep the student's needs confidential, and so it might be helpful to find a time where you can meet with the student, privately, if this is not a good time or something, try to ask the student if there's a good time, or ask the parent if there's a good time that you could try to call and just talk to the student, or something like that. Do you have any ideas?
Well, I would say the same thing. And I mean, if they have something to hide, you're going to know that they have something to hide because they're not going to give the child the privacy that they need. That's probably where, if they have internet, I would just probably meet with them on a one-on-one session. You could let them draw a picture. Again, meet with them face to face so that you can observe their body language and their facial expressions, that kind of thing. If they don't have internet service and that's not possible, I mean, as long as you're making an effort, um, I think that's probably the best that you can do in this situation. I know you guys are a little different situation than we are, since we are a virtual school. But I would just document that kind of thing, um, and just continue to follow up with the child.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do feel suspicious about a child, we usually will go and do a home visit, for students that we really can't seem to get a hold of, or the parents are kind of avoiding us, but we do feel a little bit nervous about the situation. And even in this time, you might not be able to go in their home, but you can at least go to their front porch or something. And if you don't want to go by yourself, and if you don't have a school resource officer, we found that sheriff deputies are more than happy to join you, just to go knock on someone's door and check on them. And we do that pretty frequently, just to lay eyes on the situation. So that might be something that you have to do with some of your families.
Yeah, and we usually take a partner, like if we go on a home visit, we take another counselor or a teacher or whatever, and then we also get the deputy to go with us just for our safety. He usually just sits in the car and doesn't get out and interact with the family. But I mean, just for our safety, and usually we just tell them, hey, he's just here for our safety, and they're fine with that. But yeah, always take a buddy. Don't go by yourself.
So I'm going to look in the chat, for any other questions. And these are just some examples, some more, of kind of what it looks like to have an interactive session with your kids on a PowerPoint. Ways that they could maybe draw and talk with you. A lot of times we find, not necessarily just the worksheet, but just a way to get them to be doing something with their hands instead of just sitting there and talking to you on webcam.
And like Stephanie and Candace was saying, this does give, especially the younger children, to show them the picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, this that's really good, and it's a good starter. If they say they're feeling worried, now it's about the virus, of course, and then we talk about that. And I too shared the yucky bug. Thank you for mentioning that, Brianna, because I also shared that. I just broke it up in K through 2, and 3 through 5, and that's also on our resources.
Yeah, and just on the Google Drive, that's available to you all. Our PowerPoints are there. We do have a Google form that you can submit specific questions that you might be facing, or even some best practices that you've started using that you want to share with everybody else on here. That's definitely welcome. And if you have like a specific area that we haven't covered that you would like, maybe someone to just kind of brainstorm with, our contact information's here, and we are definitely available to try to help you be innovative and come up with new ideas. We are totally open to that. So definitely reach out if you have any specific things. Let's see, what are some academic areas? Yeah, so I think on here, let me see, where did I put this? So student parent, okay, so here's our website link that we have for our families. It's just in the student parent communication, and then this is our website link. But on the website, you can kind of see how we did some of our newsletters, if that would help. So at the bottom, here are our newsletters. So, you know, we kind of gave them some updates, but then, you know, we went over book studies and things like that. Some journal ideas, college, you know, whatever it is that they might have been able to do. We kind of did that. And so that might be a really good way for you to address like some academic areas or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And this is Brenda's elementary page. This is how she shares with those families like what's available, and then has a place for the parents to like refer their student. And the one thing that we did want to mention, if you're going to be making Google Forms, okay, you can do a Microsoft form too. Make sure that you're using an email address account that's specifically for your school projects, or like your school actual account. You don't want to be using your private account and then have all of the student information in there. You know, so just be careful with what account you're using and make sure it's for school purposes and for student information. And if you don't know how to do a form, we have some resources here to help. But like I said, we're totally available. So just reach out to us if you are just not into technology and need someone to help you, because we love that. So how do you access the presentation for future reference? The elementary one is right here on the home part of the Google Drive. So if you just follow that link that we've been putting in the chat, and I think it's on the flyer as well, or in an email, it's just right here on the home page, and you can just download it as a PowerPoint, and it will be available for you. Okay. Any other last minute questions?
Candace, can you show the last slide so they can see the PowerSchool PD number? So this is the PD number that you can use in PowerSchool so that you can get PD credit for today. I know that they can't hear you, but I would love to give all of our counselors a round of applause for sharing information today, and I hope that it was beneficial for you. If you have some colleagues that need resources for middle and high school, we will be presenting at 11 a.m. And that Zoom password is 029794. So if your colleagues are middle and high school and want information on counseling resources for that, that password is 029794. And I've sent that out in an email as well. We'll also have a recording from today, and I will see how I can get that to participants. So if there's not any other questions, we're going to let you go, but you've got everybody's contact information in the Google Drive. If you cannot access it and need additional help, please feel free to email me. You all have my email address, and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.